Hello and welcome to episode 72 of Off the Bandstand. My name is Christian Wiggs. I am your host. Today's episode is Robert Edwards, a trombonist, bandleader, educator, and arranger living in New York City. Robert graduated from the Juilliard School and has been a staple of the Manhattan and Jersey scenes, performing with Jimmy Heath, Claudio Raditi, Roy Hargrove, Christian McBride, and the Dizzy Gillespie All-Star Big Band. This episode was part of Bandstand Presents' ongoing series, The Residency, that facilitates community between the Austin, Chicago, and New York jazz scenes through collaborative shows with the Christian Wiggs Big Band, the Staple Monday Night Jam at the Elephant Room, educational engagements at Texas State University, and episodes of Off the Bandstand. In this episode, we chat about fostering our interest to avoid artistic fatigue. We also chat about maintaining a musical identity while adapting on the bandstand, and a wedding at Union Square that involves sly moves, Al Gore, and split pants. Moving on to our featured release this week, this is It Had to Be You from Vanessa and Robert Edwards, their third record together as collaborators that just released at the tail end of March. Following their vocal trombone duo album Home Life, this record features a quartet with Tony Davis on guitar and Dylan Shamat on bass. If you want to support this release directly, you can head over to vanessaperea.bandcamp.com, and for all things Robert all the time, you can follow him on Instagram at Robert Edwards Music. On the calendar for Bandstand Presents, we promised that big news was coming, and it's finally here. We are elated to announce that Brian Carter's Jazz at Pride is returning to the stage not once, but twice for the 2022 Pride season. The first show will be on Monday, June 27th at the famed Dizzy's Club at Jazz at Lincoln Center in New York City, with two sets at 7:30 and 9:30 p.m., and a second date right here in Austin on Thursday, August 11th. For more information, you can head over to bandstandpresents.com, and for all things bandstand all the time, you can follow us on Instagram at Bandstand Presents. That is it for all of the mentions and announcements this week. Let's dive into episode 72, Robert Edwards. This is Off the Bandstand. Dude, we really should have hooked up some Austin FC tickets because I have heard that you are a soccer fan.
Yep.
All right.
I am.
Tell me about it. Set the scene. When were you into soccer? Did you play?
I did. I played. I grew up playing soccer since I can remember. Played all through high school and a little bit in college. And then up until a few years ago, I rolled my ankle at a pickup game. And Kevin, not messing around with it anymore.
Sure.
I'm like, I can't keep hurting myself.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's like the tagline of just jazz musicians.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't keep hurting ourselves.
Yeah,
man.
getting too old for this. Yeah.
Man,
But,
of course, I told you that Sailors has just been A, so excited to have you down here, but B, has just been he's like, man, you got to give Rob all the solos. You got to make sure to feature him, man. He's the baddest cat alive. And what is the most upsetting part that I found out about this entire thing is that you started your undergrad in piano.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Infuriating, man. Pick a lane. Pick a lane because
I did. I picked a lane. Yeah. I got out of the piano scene. I wanted to. I started to do jazz just to become a better musician.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'll go to college for that. And then they insisted that I play trombone for scholarship reasons.
Okay.
Well, you'll play in the big band and then we'll give you more money, but you'll be a piano major. So I was like, cool, that's what I want. So I studied that and I don't know. I was learning Benny Green solos and getting a lot of lines together and that kind of stuff. But it was really hard for me to develop some of the left hand, the right hand stuff. And I was struggling with that. And then meanwhile, I got asked to do a gig on trombone. And I was I had nothing at that time. I was 18. So then I started digging in a little harder to the trombone. And then something clicked, things clicked and made more sense musically. So then I just have been on that track ever since. I don't know. I guess maybe using air and wind, things like that unlocked certain musical things.
Interesting. Could you tell me more about that? I would love to know.
Yeah, I think it's difficult for rhythm section players to be able to take all the information they use and like line it up, because they're not wind instruments. They don't have to breathe.
Yeah.
They can just kind of keep playing. And when I started playing more trombone, having to breathe kind of made things make more sense phrasing wise.
Yeah.
So then I was able to kind of like dial in the things I was cramming in my brain.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, that's, I don't know, one of the advantages of playing a wind instrument, I think.
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
Were you playing soccer heavily around the same time that you were picking up trombone?
In college?
I guess around that time. Yeah. Were you still playing?
Oh, yeah, I played like just for fun,
Sure.
intramural stuff. But
I was curious if you felt like being active, like being in an active sport that really focuses on breathing and like stamina influenced at all the trombone, but if they weren't at the same time.
my teacher in high school used to say that. I don't know. He used to say, that's great that you exercise and play soccer. That's going to help you. You know, he was very fat. I don't know.
Oh,
It didn't seem to matter for him.
Yeah.
he,
Yeah.
he was doing fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough. Man, I want like Batman style. I want the origin of Rob Edwards. I want to know like what were you like as a kid?
I have a brother. I grew up in West Palm Beach. My dad's an investment manager, but he grew up playing piano because his father was a piano player.
Yeah.
So my dad would be singing and playing piano every day in the house.
Yeah.
And I grew up listening to that. And eventually, when I was like 6 or 7, I started taking lessons on piano and classical stuff.
Yeah.
And that was always there. I always took classical lessons. Then in middle school, my mom wanted me to go to an arts school, but she wasn't confident that I was good enough at piano to get in. So she's like, you should pick up another instrument. Like, so we tried alto saxophone.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get a noise. Like I couldn't get any sound. And then she was like, well, maybe you should play the trombone. You know, not a lot of people like to play that. And it's probably a good in for you, like
Sure.
in middle school. So it's totally like practical.
Yeah.
Like I didn't choose it necessarily.
Yeah, word. Do you feel like because of your extensive kind of experience on piano that listening to piano players has changed maybe the way that you think about improvising on the trombone?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Because sometimes trombone players here, like if I play a triplet, which I do a lot, then they think that I'm into like Frank Rosolino or certain trombone players who are like virtuosic for that thing. But when you play piano, it's just like a typical.
Yeah.
No one would bat an eye if you like played I don't know, it's just like, okay, he's just playing like language. But for
Yeah.
trombone, it seems like more. So yeah, I guess it does influence the thought process. I
Yeah.
spent like, after I decided to play trombone, I was just like trying to take everything I learned on piano and cram it
Yeah. Yeah.
into there. Yeah.
Oh, so interesting. Okay, so you came up in Florida, right?
Mhm.
So did you go straight from Florida to New Jersey City University?
Right. Yep. I
Okay.
transferred because I was dating somebody at the time and we were doing long distance. And I knew I wanted to be in New York anyways. So
Yeah.
I found Jersey City University on the internet and I was like, oh, it's not very expensive. So that's how I
Yeah.
picked it.
Word.
It had a good program too.
Yeah, I mean, well, the staff over there is like heavy. I was checking out like who's on faculty, like
Right.
Sheila Jordan,
Mhm.
Payne, right? Like really heavy cats. So what was the distance of time between being at Jersey City and Juilliard?
I finished my undergrad at Jersey City from 2006 to 2008. And then I went straight into a master's at Juilliard.
Okay, cool, man. How was the dynamic different, if at all, like being in the city proper as opposed to being like outside in Jersey?
Yeah, good question. I thought it was a big difference.
Yeah.
And I tell people that all the time. I was in New Jersey for about 5 or 6 years
Mhm.
when I moved up here. And you tell people you live in Jersey City or Hoboken in New York, and they're like, oh, he's in Jersey, like.
Okay.
So I feel like you do kind of, I don't know if you miss out on certain things, the accessibility of just sessions and things like that you do during the day, rehearsals, even though they're like free rehearsals, like people won't call you if they think you're traveling in from out of
Interesting.
town. They'll be like, oh, I don't even want to bother them with it. But if they know you're around, people will just hit you up for like things during the day or things
Yeah.
that are really important when you're coming up, like low paying, like $30 big band gigs or stuff like that.
Sure.
That's kind of how you meet everybody.
Yeah.
So it was big. When I moved into the city, I could just fly around and hustle.
Yeah. Man, when did you start arranging?
I started getting into it about like 2012. I played with one of the first gigs in New York was with a Hoboken-based 10-piece big band called Swingadelic.
Okay.
I was living in Hoboken at the time, and they had a every Monday residency led by a very cool guy named Dave Post. So we started playing with that band. He writes, some other members wrote for the band. And I was just like, well, let me just take the opportunity to work on my arranging and write for this band. So then just one by one, started adding charts. And I was like, oh, we could use some more of these tunes and trying to fill up the book. There's also a lot of charts for full big band, which I don't know.
Yeah. It's
kind of a drag when you have 7 horns and it's written for, like 12 horns.
Sure.
So you're missing a lot of voices. And I was like, well, this just isn't going to do, like we need real arrangements.
Like when cats are just like sitting out?
Yeah, or like you're doing like a horn shout and you're missing like half the horns. So it's so that's what got me on the path to write. I wrote a lot of charts for that band. And that's kind of how I learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your big band, the Robert Edwards big band, is a kind of truncated big band, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what's the instrumentation on that one?
Same as Swingadelic. It's 2 trumpets, 2 trombones, alto, tenor, bari, rhythm section.
Cool. And then do you like to write all of the arrangements for that, or do you like to have that be kind of a aggregate of the people who are in the band?
For my band, it's all my charts. I mean, some things that I wrote for Swingadelic that I think would work like for the sound of our ensemble, and I'm trying to like add some more original kind of stuff, and it's a lot of adaptation. So I would just transcribe records, like I just transcribe bassy arrangements, and I make it work for 7 horns, and that's how I started. Like, it was like, oh well, this is fun. Like, it'd be cool to have this chart and this chart and this Ellington chart, and that's like, I don't know. That's how I learned up. I wish I was more into it when I was in school and actually like took class more seriously.
Yeah.
But
do you think that having that fundamental on the piano is like really kind of integral to your ability to arrange for that kind of ensemble?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's a lot of, just looking at the piano and like thinking about the ranges, and that's really the name of the game.
Yeah.
Just don't go too high, don't go too low. Is this going to be a drag for this instrument? Maybe move it over there.
Yeah.
Just give all the hard stuff to the saxes. And
they knew what they signed up for when they picked a saxophone.
Oh yeah.
They knew it,
They deserve it. They deserve all the hard stuff.
Man, because Home Life is incredible. I'm super excited to hear the next record that you guys are putting out. It could happen to you. How did you and Vanessa meet?
We met at Jersey City University.
Okay.
At that time, like I said, I moved up here to be with my girlfriend at the time, so I wasn't looking for anybody and whatever. I just finished up school, but we had a lot of mutual friends, Vanessa and I, and then around 2010, my buddy played matchmaker and kind of was like, he's down, you're down, like, you guys should hang out. It's like, yeah, that sounds good. She's a good-looking lady. So,
man, I feel like I've been super spoiled lately listening to a bunch of like vocal duo work. I've been listening a lot to Martina and Shimmy lately. I saw Shy Maestro and Michael Mayo at Soapbox Gallery.
Yeah, I caught some of that. That was great.
Which was just unbelievable, man. Both of their ears are just amazing. Just hear everything. Michael especially, man, is just a marvel for a vocalist, to be able to do that. And then obviously you and Vanessa, and specifically with Home Life, one of the things that is really impressive about you're playing, what I really gravitate towards is that you act similarly to Dan, with Martina, in that you're fully supportive and you fill out the sound, and it's just busy enough to really like provide that like care and support for the vocalist, but it's never, ever, there's no question that it's going to like take over the sound or get in the way. It's such a delicate balance, man. And I guess it's just a testament to working with somebody that you care about, so deeply. Were there any kind of considerations of how to approach a vocal trombone duo that you had not considered until you started working together in that kind of limited format?
I thought it was great. I mean, I like to play. I like the idea of just having free reign to play as much as possible, and it also is like a test for me whether I know the tune.
Yeah.
I like the idea of like playing bass lines and getting to kind of arrange on the spot. So for her, yeah, I guess it's like I realized I had to like stay low in my range so I wasn't in her range. I feel like trombone sweet spot is the same as a female vocalist. They share like the same register for like for what's like their most singing, I don't know.
Yeah.
Singing range. So I have to like stay out of there.
Yeah.
I got to stay in the basement and then just do enough. Just like you said, I mean, I'm not Dan, but there's not a lot of precedent for what I do. So it's also like I'm not comparing myself to anyone. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, fair enough. No, man, don't sell yourself short. You're just as good as Dan.
I'm coming for him, yeah.
Oh man, fighting words.
Yeah.
Make sure to look right down the barrel of the camera.
Coming for you, Dan.
Oof. That's literally just going to be the clip, by the way, that we're going to post
That's how
online.
you start it?
Yeah. That's how we start the interview.
Dude.
Yeah. 5 minutes long, just short clips, short form. Man, I'm curious because you've been present in so many, you're like one of the most working people in New York. You've been present in so many different ensembles that if there was a situation where none of resources, time, money, personnel, if none of that was an issue or anything that was kind of holding anything back, what is a project that you'd be like chomping at the bit to produce?
Well, I like the idea of even taking like the big band or a smaller group and like maybe producing records, like themed records for musicians that I know and like.
Yeah.
If I had the means to kind of like produce records that showcased people who like maybe some rhythm section, I don't know, Aaron Kimmel, my buddy and a great drummer, like someone like that who's like featured, or Joe Magnarelli, or like, if I just had the means and the money to just kind of like, okay, let's make a project for this guy and this guy and this guy. I mean, it's kind of like you're bringing in cats and like featuring people using your platform. Kind of sounds like what you're doing.
I mean, I guess so. I legitimately didn't think about it that way whenever I asked the question, but I guess so. Yeah. I mean, from my perspective, it's just like, all right, there's, like a sandbox and like, let's create anything and everything, I like the idea of not being limited, especially musically. I feel like sometimes people like to put us in a box, and like to be like, all right, that guy does this thing and this guy does this thing, or like, this is the way you should approach this project. And I mean, obviously we're playing all of Steven's arrangements, so it's kind of specifically geared towards like what he was like, hey, like we should do these. And I, of course, was totally down to do whatever he wanted to do. But the main vibe of the big band in general is just like, all right, do I want to do a Tallest Man on Earth tune? Do I want to do, a Michael Jackson tune, a Spinners tune? Literally not leaving anything out, trying to get as wide a variety of musical genres that we can then format into the big band and then bring down as many people as possible to highlight those different colors and write specifically for the people that we know are going to be there, so we can, support them in that way as well. So
Yeah, very cool.
yeah.
It's cool. Yeah, that's why I was happy to come down. I thought it was just a great opportunity to meet you and the scene in Austin. Even more and more, I'm like, it'd be cool to have footholds in great cities and get to play different places.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm also like very happy doing what I do in New York, like
Yeah.
getting to play with Steven and you and all these different people. Like, I mean, with everything opening up, especially, it's like good to play different projects and
Yeah.
so many great cats. I feel like I'm retired. I'm just like rolling around, like playing gigs and hanging out at home.
Yeah.
And I just want to keep it going.
Yeah.
I don't
Man,
know.
I think we all started to value like our free time a lot more whenever, obviously, that thing, I don't know if you heard about it, this thing that happened last year. It was this
I
thing.
think so, yeah.
But we'd like obviously had a lot more free time, and then whenever everything started to like come back, I think a lot of cats here were like, well, I don't necessarily need to go do this other gig, like I
Right.
might want to just stay home, maybe I don't need to play like a 5th night of the week or a 6th night of the week. Maybe I want to stay home and focus on
Yeah.
a little bit more of the work-life balance. I'm curious how that dynamic is being an household being married with 2 active working jazz musicians.
Yeah.
Are you both feeling like you want to constantly be on the grind and like playing as much as possible, or do you both like to kind of coordinate those nights off to just spend an evening at home?
Yeah, we definitely have to do that occasionally. Like I'll take off a gig that I feel like I can miss for that week
Yeah.
if I know she's going to be off. Because it's true, we end up like the past couple weeks, it's just like, oh, I'm still going. It's like night 8 or something. Like, well, that's cool, but wait, when do I get a day off, or when do we get to hang out?
Yeah.
And that's something that's kind of, yeah, like you said, I think after the thing that happened, like you begin to value that time, that free time that you had, when before the thing, I was content just
Mhm.
like raging, going from gig to gig. And I was like, this is cool. I'm working. That's great. It's great to
Yeah.
work. But then, yeah, it's like, all right, well, maybe
Yeah.
take time to put things in perspective and look at what you want to be doing and develop those things
Sure.
a little more closely,
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of on that topic of, burnout feels like a strong word to describe it, because it's really more of just like needing some rest. It's not like a total burnout, but like in that time that you have, what are the things maybe like non-musically that you do to kind of like, I haven't said it in a while, but I used to like refer to it as like filling the joy quota, I think we have to be resilient as musicians to have that be like hard to deplenish, or deplete.
Mhm.
Deplete. It's hard to deplete, but easy to refill. So what are those things for you that kind of rejuvenate you so you can get back out and get back on the hustle?
Well, like you said earlier, I watch a lot of football,
Hmm.
a lot of soccer, different sports things that kind of like take your mind off of music. That's my favorite, like, because it's live drama, like
Mhm.
real life things, and it's, these people are super passionate about it. So it's easy to get wrapped up in sports things. Other than that, I don't know. Recently, I've been going to Florida to visit my folks, and hanging out at the beach has been really nice.
Yeah.
To be honest, like I'm happy playing every day and like just playing as much as possible.
Yeah.
I think it is the thing you have to watch out for is just doing things. You don't want to do anything that's going to sour
Yeah.
your appreciation or love for the music and what you do.
Yeah.
So kind of just, evaluate yourself or what I do. I don't know. I evaluate like what I like to do and what I'm good at and what you want to keep like fostering, and then make sure you're just doing that as much as possible. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Fair enough.
I don't really get that burned out though, or not yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's amazing. I will have to take lessons from you on that, like very seriously.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, man, the idea too of, different people having different regiments that they follow, and if they have a daily routine or lack thereof that just like keeps them on a sustainable path to be in a high stress, high functioning regiment. What is part of your daily routine, if you have any?
Oh man. I, for better or worse, lack routine in my music.
Yeah.
I just kind of I try to approach the instrument respectfully and not hurt myself. Start with some long notes, see where the chops are at, and then take it kind of from there.
Mm.
I mean, I'm sure everybody's somewhat similar. You just begin to push the extremes of your instrument little by little. Try not to run in, like just go straight in, playing as hard and fast as possible. I don't like to play very hard at home. I think that's a bad idea. I don't know. It's like, I think everybody has to assess like what they do.
Yeah.
Like, what am I getting? What do I want to do, and what am I getting paid to do? And if I'm getting paid to like play jazz and play tunes and the solo, then I need to be doing that at home. So during the pandemic, that was something that was like a big deal. Like I wasn't practicing before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going from gig to gig, and then
Right.
suddenly I'm faced with listening to myself all day.
Yeah.
It's like, oh well, let's just have fun. Play as many tunes as you want. So I would sit there and just play like for an hour straight, calling tunes on myself and playing alone. And I was like, oh, this seems like good practice.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I do. I like to isolate chords or isolate tunes and just take a sound and kind of mull in it.
Mm. Man, on Home Life, like talking about kind of picking up new tricks or new routines, you guys recorded that all from home.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just a clever name of Home Life.
Indeed.
It is not just a clever
It was my life.
had you had much recording experience before that? Not in terms of like recording yourself playing, but like actually engineering and trying to do home recording.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, we did it, and by the way, that's all Vanessa. She's the one she's the tech mind. She mixed all of that and gets it set up and gets the lights. We had to buy lights and stuff to video, and that was definitely new for us.
Yeah.
We hadn't done that before.
When it comes to producing projects, like from any number of the albums, from like Playdate and Home Life, and then It Could Happen to You that's coming out.
It Had to Be You, actually.
Oh, It Had to Be You.
Yeah.
What did I say? It could happen to you?
Yeah.
That I've got it on the brain.
It's okay.
I'm playing it tonight.
Yeah, that's right.
Forgive me.
Yeah.
Forgive me. But yeah, man, whenever it comes to each one of those albums and producing, do you like to have more of a hands-on role in the production standpoint, or do you like to step back and have somebody who's a little bit more objective to the thing, like come in and have that bit of balance?
Well, Home Life is basically it's what we achieved over the pandemic as far as like coming up with these tunes and making videos.
Yeah.
So we made, I don't know, like a dozen or more, or about that. But I don't know. We did several videos together, and then we're like, oh well, they sound good. Let's just put them on Spotify. So that's really what Home Life is.
Sure.
It's not like, it wasn't like one session,
Right.
but it's just a compilation of all that. Playdate was a record that we did many years ago. I don't know, like almost 10 years ago at this point. And I meant for it to be, it was like a gift for Vanessa. It was a birthday gift, actually. I got the studio time and I hired the cats. And I kind of surprised her. I was like, hey, let's go in and do a record.
Does Vanessa write originals as well?
She writes lyrics. She writes like vocalises, and she writes words for jazz standards.
Yeah. Okay. Do you guys ever collaborate in you writing an original and her writing lyrics?
We haven't done that yet. No. That's something we should do. We've been talking about it. She's great at writing lyrics. So that would be cool. We haven't done it yet.
That would be incredibly hip. I would be so down to hear that. I think that like the collaboration between composer and lyricist is like one of the coolest and can be like one of the most like intimate things, you know, like whenever Steven was like, hey man, what tunes do you want to do? I was like, dude, write something. And if you trust me, like I would love to write some lyrics to the thing, because it's just so fun to come at something from feeling kind of equal parts contributive, you know? Because then you just feel like this really intense, you know, investment in the thing, you know? So, man, Sailors wanted me to specifically ask, he didn't give me any context, but he wanted me to specifically ask about your days subbing for him on the Hot Sardines gigs. And I wasn't sure if it was a setup of any kind that he was trying to get me on.
I don't know the context of this exactly. I will say that he got the gig in my eyes because I couldn't make like a couple, it was like a cruise. I think it was like a Disney cruise they were playing. And that opened the door to Sailors for him to get that job.
Word. Yeah, man. I know that you and Sailors have a long history, and he was saying about how, you know, he wrote the arrangement for you and Vanessa's first dance, you know, Let's Get Lost, and doing all of that. And man, I'm so curious about how the two of you came to be in the same circle, and then how that friendship started to like kind of grow.
Yeah. I met him, I forget when he moved there. 2012, 2013. I'm not sure exactly, but he was at a bar, like running a session up in Harlem. Yeah. So then I met him there.
Yeah.
And I forget what our mutual gig was. I can't really remember. I don't know. He's a industrious fellow. So I think he started booking gigs with this company, Low Down Stompers was his band.
Yeah.
So he would call me to do some of that. He started a non-net, or he has a non-net. And we used to play at this place called Sleep No More.
Yeah, right.
And I still play there. Actually, I play piano there.
Oh, is it still running?
It just reopened, yeah.
Amazing. And that's like this like super immersive experience, right?
Based on Macbeth. And there's just like actors placed all around the building, and they grab you, pull you into rooms, do like one-on-ones. There's naked people dancing. It's a whole scene. I don't know.
Amazing.
It's cool. So then there's this bar off to the side.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like set in the 20s, and there's a band.
Okay.
Plays there. So
does the band play in other spots other than just the bar? Do they go into around into the other rooms?
Just stay there because grand piano's not moving.
The grand piano is not moving. Definitely not up some stairs.
No.
Yeah. Man, I'm curious, throughout all of the different interactions you've had with kind of luminaries throughout New York, the people who you teach with, what has been like one of the best or most lasting like pieces of advice that you've been given that's shaped you?
I don't know if it's like things that people say. I think you just latch on to people who you would like to emulate.
Sure.
So when I see someone like Joe Magnarelli, I think he always, to me, embodied what I would want to be, like as a jazz musician in New York. So you find those people who are like role models. He's just like, he's done a lot, played with a lot of people, been killing it for years, recorded tons of great records, and is still like willing to play, you know, with my group. And like, he still teaches a lot, and he does it all in a way that's just kind of like, it's just him.
Yeah.
Just saying what he thinks and sharing what he does. And I was like, man, that's really hip. I hope I can be as like good at what I do that I could just share it.
Yeah.
And that would be enough to make money. So I think that's like, and that's a very New York thing to just roll around playing jazz trombone gigs.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess in Austin too, it's a thing, which is rare. I'm from West Palm Beach, Florida. It's not a thing.
Really?
You know, so.
Well, that's interesting to me. So I was going to ask specifically what encouraged you to launch into like a career in music, in being in that environment if there wasn't maybe a whole lot happening around you?
Yeah, I never worked. I still haven't worked there. I haven't like worked in my hometown. Yeah, like I went to school for music thinking I would take my education in jazz piano and maybe go into a songwriter career. Like I
Okay.
was really into Ben Folds 5 and like those types of things. So I used to play piano and I used to play those tunes and sing them for like friends and stuff like that. So that I went into college thinking like, all right, I'll take this info and like go do my thing. And then it was serious. The teachers were serious and I became immersed in bebop and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then that's just how life unfolded. I don't know. I just started playing more trombone and then more trombone. I was like, oh, well, I could keep doing this. Like I found a footing on the instrument in college. And I was like, okay, this is enough for now. Like we'll just keep this ball rolling, go to New York, see what happens.
Yeah. You said Ben Folds and Ben Folds 5. I'm a huge Ben Folds fan. So when you said that, I was like, all right, I now know the next arrangements that I'm commissioning for the big band. If you want to go down the Ben Folds rabbit hole, I will hand you a signed blank check.
Oh my God.
And we will just fill the book, man.
That would be wild. That'd be a weird coming back to that like full circle moment.
Yeah. Right, man.
Oh, yeah.
Well, so you were listening to that. You wanted to do songwriting. That was originally kind of the idea.
I didn't really write songs though. I was just into like, I thought it was cool. I played piano and like did some singing at home, but I definitely like wasn't doing much of that.
Okay.
I didn't know what I wanted to do. To be honest, in like high school, I didn't.
Sure.
I liked Ben Folds 5. I liked listen to everything, R&B music and stuff like that. At West Palm Beach, there wasn't a jazz scene. Like I said, it's not like a thing I even like thought was a thing.
Right.
The career that I have, it's just one foot in front of the other kind of a vibe.
Yeah, man. I'm curious now, like how eclectic what you're listening to is. Like, do you find now that it's a majority of just jazz and checking out stuff in that vein? Or do you have just like, is there just something that's like off the beaten path that you're like, yeah, I listen to this, like just to separate kind of work and like listening regiments, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, I feel pretty under-listened as far as new things or contemporary music. I definitely like dig into the 60s and 50s and 40s and I'm always trying to like learn new tunes and do stuff like that. So it is practical listening. But man, I really like that was that Bruno Mars Anderson .Paak record is really good.
Yeah, what is that? That's not the Silk Sonic thing.
Yes.
Is that
Silk
what that
Sonic.
is? Everybody keeps telling me to check it out.
It's pretty awesome. Pretty satisfying listen. And it's pretty short. It's like 40 something minutes for the whole record. Oh, Jamiroquai. I used to really love Jamiroquai. That kind of has jazz elements.
Yeah.
Like funk stuff. Listen to that. A lot of Brazilian like CTI records, like those beautifully recorded. I guess a lot of it was at Rudy Van Gelder, but I like when I'm not like if I'm on the train or something, you like to vibe out with some like heavy reverb, like Antonio Carlos Jobim records, like Wave or Stoneflower.
Yeah.
Long car rides. Yeah.
Do you like to drive, or do you rather
I like to drive? We've done some fair driving from like New York to South Jersey or to Philly.
Yeah.
And those long car rides like home. That's fun. We go to Wawa or go to, fill up with snacks and then vibe out to Jobim. I feel like that was the theme.
Yeah.
For many rides.
Do you find yourself traveling a lot outside of the city to go do hits?
Not anymore. I used to. I used to play with a funk band, like kind of club date type stuff.
Yeah.
So we'd go to casinos and stuff like that. Yeah. But I don't do as of right now, a lot of touring for jazz right now.
Yeah.
I did with Gordon Webster, did some stuff in Europe and Asia for a few years.
Man, how was that?
doing like Lindy Hop events. It's fun. It was cool to see the world a little bit. I get homesick though. I mean, I kind of like being home.
Yeah.
My dream is to kind of just be in New York,
Yeah.
which I guess I'm doing, but
Yeah.
I don't know, like stay there and play more jazz.
Yeah. Do you find
Yeah.
that you feel more like, what do they call it? Like a extroverted introvert or an introverted extrovert?
I don't even know. I don't know what that means.
Well, people say I would say maybe like I'm more of an introvert, like just by nature. Like I really love being home. Whenever the pandemic happened and everybody was like, I gotta get out of the house. I was like, I'm chilling, man. I'm like
Right.
Zoom. I get to talk to people, and then like as soon as I'm done, I press end, and then I go get under a blanket. Like this is amazing. But then our job obviously requires us to be very extroverted,
Right.
just by means of like getting on a stage,
Sure.
and then, if you're doing like band leading frontman stuff and like singer, like you have to like engage the audience.
Right.
And I love doing that. But at the end of the day, like to go home and veg out for a bit and just like not talk at all. I mean, of course, like talk to Lydia like at home, my partner, but that's kind of my jam. And then there's other people who are like, they want to be out and about, but they're a little bit more reserved when they are out and about. So where do you find yourself on that spectrum?
I think I'm there. I think I'm like not super extroverted, but I like talking to people. I like meeting people. I also know it's like a professional necessity,
Yeah.
right? And New York is constantly evolving and changing, and there's an influx of musicians like every 3 months. I feel like there's like more cats, more cats.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, this is my life. This is how it's going to be if I want to like keep collaborating with people and keep on the scene, out of sight, out of mind. So
Yeah.
it's like you kind of have to be out.
Yeah.
Everybody's different, but I like being there. I like meeting new people and like, so that's kind of where I fall. Like I just like you want to play and get to know each other through that way.
Yeah.
It's a special bond. Like my best friends aren't my like oldest best friends aren't musicians, but even friends who aren't your best friend,
Yeah.
if you share music, if you play a tune, you have that connection.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. I think New York's cool. So many like friends who you don't see all the time, but you share
Yeah.
a moment like that or share an experience. I think that's definitely one of my favorite things
Yeah.
about living in a city like New York. So
Yeah.
I don't know. What is that? Introverted extrovert, or is that a?
We'll let people decide in the comment
All right.
section.
Yeah.
They'll start coming. We'll no, you know what? We'll do a poll. People can submit answers. Yes,
Okay.
no.
So
Man, in what situation, because obviously you work in a lot of different size ensembles,
Mhm.
where do you feel kind of most at home on the stand? Like what size ensemble do you feel like, man, I could do this, like, like I could eat chocolate cake for the rest of my life. Or like I could play this chair for the rest of my life. What is that where you feel?
that's a question I ask myself all the time. I don't know. I do like a lot of sideman work, and then I'm trying to lead more and more these days, like trying to control things, trying to dictate how things are going to happen rather than just doing whatever's the next gig. Even though I love all the people who I collaborate with, and it's just a challenge that I set for myself. So right now, like sometimes it's nice to do trio stuff, drumless, or do the full quintet. I do enjoy playing with the big band. I just think that big band is such a special sound and a dying, maybe a dying like art form, as electronic music and all these things. People are like, well, look at all you can do with technology, and
Sure.
people are going to, they forget what it feels like to hear, 17, 18 people in
Yeah.
front of them. So I feel like that is usually like pretty gratifying.
I think the ice cream truck's coming by, man. I heard you like ice cream too, like as much as the next guy. We're all big fans of ice cream. We
Am I
made sure
about to
bring.
get surprised?
Dude, they're gonna bust in, and they're just gonna like start throwing cones, man. You just gotta catch it and then eat it on camera. It's a challenge. It's for TikTok, you know. Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
TikTok? No way.
Oh.
The app?
Never heard of it.
Oh man, we'll get hip.
Okay.
I'll show you some TikToks.
Sick.
It's great. It's great. But yeah, you were saying like the big band sound and
yeah, I like that. I like, you know, I like playing with my big band. I would like to do more with that and like write different ideas for that. I write for Vanessa and for myself. It's very satisfying hearing like a bunch of great players making it happen. Yeah. And then like knowing that an audience gets to hear that is really cool. I also like really small on like duo things and trio. I don't know. I'm all over the map. I think like when you live a life of utility, like as a trombone player, you know, beginning to like imagine a life of like leading and dictating things is different for me. I'm not that kind of person. Like, I've always been satisfied with like being there. And now I'm more like trying to lead more and record more and dictate the future. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Different for singers. That's like you are the front person, you know, like.
Sure. Do you feel like playing in different size ensembles evokes different aspects of your playing that are unique to each
definitely
size? Yeah.
Did a lot of, when I got into New York, I got into the traditional jazz. So like 1920s, 30s. And I began to like cultivate a style that was suitable for that. You know, bebop, bebop language sounds lame over 1920s music, in my opinion. And then, you know, the elitists will also not be happy with it. But it just doesn't sound right. So I was like, okay, you know, you have to get that together, like cultivate a style where I'm not hitting any, you know, flat nines too much, or you know, tritone subs are lame. Can't do that. So those gigs I play a little bit differently. In front of the big band, you feel like you have to like, you got to play over the band, so then you play a certain way. Yeah. And then for the smalls gig, it's like a hard bop kind of a hit, and you got Joe Magnarelli there, or whatever badass is going to be there. So then you play differently for that too. I think it's cool. I don't know. I like playing for restaurants, even background gigs. Yeah. Because I think that's a really hip thing to like supply the mood for people to enjoy their significant other's company. I don't know. Yeah. I'm into that. I like background mute, like very chill vibes and things that aren't like in your face. So
that's such a caring approach to the thing. You know, a lot of people would be like, oh, I'm going to go play this steakhouse gig. You know, it's like a wallpaper gig or whatever. And you're like, no, man, like we're providing a thing. Like this is a part of it's the ultimate like kind of constructive attitude, right? It's just like each one of us are playing a role, and depending on what day and what location and who the band leader is and what the book calls for, we're playing a role. It's very selfless.
Yeah, I think we're in the service industry sometimes, right? Like arts and entertainment. Entertainment is providing the service you're entertaining. Like you're kind of going to the audience, and then arts it's yours. Like you're doing what you want to do. So like everything is on sliding scale of like, so when you're playing background music, I mean, it's definitely like entertainment, but you shouldn't be drawing attention to yourself. Yeah. It's kind of a weird thing. But then when I listen back to those recordings, I think they often sound like the best, or some of my best playing is when I'm not playing to be noticed. I'm just playing what is right or appropriate,
Yes.
what is like beautiful. So then like, or what you are trying to make beautiful. And then when you hear things back where you're, really coming at the audience, sometimes it's a little more cringy for me. I'm like, all right, like
Yeah.
you just play the music, just take care of it and you'll be cool. But
Right.
I guess as humans, that's kind of hard.
Yeah. I guess
don't
maybe we
know.
just like place an expectation on ourselves whenever we have like a dedicated audience, because we're like, okay, well, they're expecting something of me and I need to give it to them,
Right.
and then maybe we like misread the situation. Like, I can't tell you how many times like I've been playing somewhere in between a steakhouse gig and, like a seated concert. It's like,
Right.
it'll be like a restaurant thing, but it's a dedicated kind of like listening lounge or whatever, but they're still just kind of whatever, and you might think to yourself like, oh, they hate everything I'm playing. So or maybe they hate jazz. Maybe they hate me. So let me just play something fast,
Yeah.
and maybe let me try to like come out the gate on my first solo improvising, and I'll just try to put like the headiest licks as opposed to like leaving space, giving time. I haven't said this on the show in a long time, but that's why I was like really inspired by like Bill Evans playing. It's just like space and then saying a lot with less, you
Yeah.
know? And so, yeah, we can just get in our heads about what it is that they want. And then we might end the gig or like break and we'll think they hate me. I just want to like go to my table, get on my phone and like have a drink. And then somebody might come over and be like, wow, there's like, loved the set, and realize that we are totally misreading situations.
Right.
So it is funny how we can be what they actually want, which is us being ourselves the most whenever we don't think anybody's really watching,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to just serve the music the best you can, right? That's it. That's all you can ever really like do.
Yeah.
And then people can take it or leave it. But like you said, different settings, different music. If you're doing someone else's band, they want you to be a little more, they want you to be a thing, or like, I think that's where it's tricky being a sideman. I think that's where it's important to consider in your practicing, carving your niche as a performer, I guess. Like that is your practice. Like you have to like spend, whenever I feel indecisive on a gig, I'm like, oh, it's probably because I need to just like practice playing more, play more at home. That way, like, this is what I do. You're not like thinking, oh, maybe a little more alterations. This is a headier gig, or no, they don't. They want less alterations. Yeah, okay,
Right.
cool. More just diatonic harmony for this one,
Right.
and then you're like, wait, what am I? What am I doing? Like, or like, like how do you brand yourself if you're like changing things all the time? That's kind of.
That's that's the quote, man. That's amazing.
It's tough. I don't know.
Yeah. And that's the balance, right? Like saying that, we're in the service industry, giving people what they want, but not at the expense of sacrificing who we are.
Yeah.
And the ever elusive balance and like question. When you figure it out,
holler.
Share with me the secret sauce, man. Let me know.
I think it's just doing it. I think it's just playing a lot. I think if you have the what is it, the fortune of just getting to do what you want to do every day and playing the tunes you want to play, you don't have to think about it. Like you're just doing the thing. And I think that's ultimately the goal. Like not so premeditated, just letting it unravel. And everyone's more or less decisive than others.
Yeah.
Obviously, some people are like, this is what I like to do always.
Yeah.
I'm not like that. I'm like, I just show up, play, hope it was good. That's been my approach. I don't know.
Yeah. 100%. Man, if there was a record that you would tell everybody to go check out like right now after this is over, And it doesn't have to be just one, but if you can think of a record, what would it be and why?
Oh man. Well, actually, Vanessa was listening to. She put on a Dexter Gordon record recently, and a bunch of emotions came flooding back, like thinking about when I first heard this, and it's called "Doing All Right," and it's got Freddie Hubbard, I think Horace Parlan, Al Harewood, and George Tucker, and it's just like the sound of the rhythm section is so swinging, and those three guys that I named are not like, it's not Philly Joe, Paul Chambers, and Wynton Kelly. They could be perceived as like a B team of rhythm section people. I don't know. I'm going to get flack for this. Don't roast me in the comments, but it's amazing. They sound so good. Freddie and Dexter are just like perfect lines.
Yeah.
Like everything is iconic to me. Like, and it's just jazz. I mean, it's just like a set of like some Dexter tunes, but songbook, some Gershwin. I think You've Changed, and I Was Doing All Right. It's You Were No One. I think that record is awesome.
Yeah. Beautiful, man. I'm going to check it out literally
Yeah.
right after this, before we hit tonight for rehearsal.
Yeah.
Make sure to like bring like a quiz for me. I know you're a teacher, so just like bring out multiple choice though, please.
Yeah.
And just be easy. I don't have that much time to study.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah, I can do that.
Amazing. Man, what has been a standout musical experience, like memory?
I got to do a short tour with the Dizzy Gillespie All-Star Big Band in 2013. I did some other gigs with them, the Blue Note and stuff like that, but it was at Newport, that particular one of the gigs. So we were on the main stage, kind of looking out over the bay, like the sailboats and like the full lawn of people. And I don't know, I just remember thinking that was very cool. To me at that time, I remember thinking that was badass. Paquito de Rivera was on the gig, and a lot of other heroes in the band. Yeah.
Word.
That one was cool.
Amazing.
I like that one. I don't know. Got to play with Ron Carter's band for a week at the Blue Note.
Whoa.
That was cool. With a big band.
Man.
That's pretty special. Him and Russell Malone have a crazy hookup. They sound really good together. I don't know. Some of those types of things are cool.
Who else was in the band on that big band?
I think Wayne Escoffrey was playing on that. His piano player, Donald Vega, I think was playing piano. I don't know. I'm forgetting all the trumpet players, but some really good ones. Was Jason Jackson on it? Steve Davis was playing trombone in it. Doug Proviance on bass bone. A lot of just like the classic heavy hitters in New York. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it was one of those, it's Ron's big band. I don't know. I get it all mixed up. Yeah.
Man.
But it was killing. I don't know.
I have to imagine it was like the hardest swinging thing in a 200-mile radius,
Yeah, it was swinging. He's very interesting because he wants a big band, but then he also doesn't like for it to be too loud. So he's constantly getting on the trumpet player in the band. He doesn't want to be buried. He's like, this is my band. Like,
gotcha.
You have to be able to hear me. I have to hear me clearly. So then, like, the lead trumpet player is just like turning purple and not getting till he's just like, all right.
He's the only guy turned around playing into the curtain.
Exactly.
Just to dampen the sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the vibe. That was a funny vibe. I will say, like, in general, when I used to do the late set at Smalls, so I'd do like the jam portion. I did that for about a year or so. And Roy Hargrove would come in and play either with us or right after us often. And just kind of having him there was very cool to like just like I said, like it's not like something that people say. It's just like seeing someone like him, you know, put himself out in the public just to play and want to be a part of it and kind of show what he thinks this is how it should sound.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff is inspiring. And also he said, he's like, Mags, man, Mags is the best. And then Roy said that. I was like, damn.
All right.
He is very good. Yeah. Mags is the man.
Amazing, man.
You know.
Well, that's all so wholesome, all the nice, beautiful stories. The way that I do end the show, I think I told you this last night, is that, you know, we all have gigs from hell, whether they are logistical nightmares. Imagine being trapped in a snowstorm, you know, coming down from Boston. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that being a thing coming down to Texas? You know, it doesn't happen.
No, not in Boston. No,
not in Boston.
No.
But we all have gigs from hell where just things go totally sideways, musically or logistics wise. Can you think of a particularly memorable gig in that regard?
No, there wasn't. One just popped into my mind that wasn't a train wreck. I think the gig itself concluded well. It was a wedding in, I think it's called Union Station in DC.
Okay.
The train station, and it's beautiful, and they have space for weddings and this type of stuff. And I think it was Al Gore's daughter was getting married, or his son.
Oh.
So we were playing for that, and the band leader was like, he's very animated, trumpet player, vocalist. And he I think within the first hour of the gig, he jumped up or did something in the back of his pants, just split all the way down the back. And he couldn't get it fixed. There was no way, it was too late to get new pants. And meanwhile, it's just Al Gore is sitting front row. And I just remember it was just hilarious. The guy at the end of the gig was like, "Man, we rocked out for you, man. I broke my shoes. I split my pants." And Al's just like, what the F, man? What is this guy doing?
Oh, he was trying to be like, man, I went the extra mile for you. It wasn't just
exactly.
It wasn't just I'll take the check and I'll get out of here.
Exactly.
It was did this for you, man.
Exactly. Yeah. That's really funny.
What a vibe. So his face, Al Gore's face, was just not impressed.
He's just shocked. Yeah, just kind of what's wrong with this guy? Why?
So they were split down the back.
Yeah.
Right? Split down the back. So
he could still perform.
Surely he just never turned around.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great. It would have worked out well if he was a bass player, because he can just kind of hide behind the instrument to a certain extent.
But this guy kind of he's very animated. He jumps off the stage and does stuff like that. So.
And he didn't adapt his routine.
I think he just rocked out.
He was
his butt out.
Show goes on.
Yeah. Inspiring.